Hello and welcome to Spirit Sherpa, the show that helps and encourages you on your journey to unlock your magic mojo. I'm Joshua Radewan, here with, as always, with Kelle Sparta, Transformational Shaman and Spiritual Coach Extraordinaire. I might have added a little flair on the end of it just
I
for you,
don't
but
think
that's
you
good.
said
I did. Are you blushing, Kelle? Lordy, Lordy.
it's blush. I actually put freaking makeup on. Yeah. Some of your recall. Okay, so you have been on Walkabout, my dear. And so I'm going to define Walkabout for people because, it's been a while since I've mentioned this, but Walkabout is where you walk into the world until you find yourself. It is an Aboriginal term. And so for the Aborigines in Australia, that meant that they were walking out into the desert. But since you are from the US, you, like me, are doing your quote unquote walkabout in your car, which is oddly synonymous right now with the fact that the recording, the song that you hear at the top and the bottom of this show, was written while I was on Walkabout and recorded when I just came back. And so we are in symmetry at the moment. So talk to us about what your walkabout has been like, because you're still there, right? You're still doing it.
Yeah, I know. I've been on the road off and on for the last 7 months now. Like it's funny. I've been just calling my car my turtle shell. I've been doing other client I work with. I'm in my car usually now, so I'm like, "Hey, welcome to my turtle shell." Let's work through this. But no, it's
Yes.
what
But I had a big turtle shell in my car with me when I was on walkabout, and I was working heavily with grandfather turtle, excuse me, about carrying home on my back. That was a
I did.
big theme of my walkabout.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't
But
think so.
I did not know that at all. This is what we talk about with the gestalt, right? You enter the tutelage of a transformational shaman. You go through transformational experiences, especially when you're really bought into said material. But no, I got to tell you, there was a lot of downs in the beginning of it because my life kind of tanked into that dark night of the soul again. In typical shaman fashion, I went into the dark night of the soul on the winter solstice because why not on the darkest night of the year? Would my life not completely implode and be forced to the road? And it was funny because the first night I stayed in a hotel and I was right on the corner of Gateway and Union. So, you can't make this kind of thing up. And, the whole journey since that Kundalini experience that I spoke about last year, has been really that sacred union within and, coming together of the masculine and feminine energies. So this has been a trying one because the first 3 months I was trying to control Walkabout, and that was very much in the masculine side. That was very much like, I don't know, like, I can't go there, like, that doesn't make any sense, like, I'm just gonna, like, hole up right here for 5 to 7 days and possibly stagnate, and I gotta work through these issues. Because for me, it was about working through the beginning of it was working through the wounding that was continuing this pattern, but as we've gotten to progress, now it's getting fun, right? Like, all the synchronicities are lining up because I'm in the flow state, right? Like, I just got back from I just landed in New Orleans out of a whim, didn't know it was the Pride celebration. Had one of the most fantastic and fabulous experiences of my life. Going to visit the tomb of Maria Laveau, and seeing some of the voodoo stuff down in that area. But and Grandmother Spider's been here the whole time weaving the web. Like I have children giving me like little figurines of spiders, and she's just letting me know she's with me every step of the way, and it's been so cool. And like your journey has been the benchmark for which I've sat and kind of watched and just experienced. Like Grandmother Spider, we were talking about it, weaving the web across the nation, right? Like that's what it feels like. We talked about that privately one time, and I'm like, yeah, she's just sending me all these cool locations, and for what purpose, I don't know. Sometimes I think, as shamans, we just go where we're called with absolutely no idea why, and we do what we're doing, even if it makes no sense. And that's all the time, right? And I'm just now the last month beginning to feel into that, like literally feel, and not be like, okay, my logical brain says I should go to point A to point B, and just allow it to go where it goes. And currently I'm in the Smoky Mountains in Georgia, about 2,000 feet up of sea level. So, it's been really cool. So I'm excited to keep on the journey for a little bit. See where it leads. I know that I'm not really completely in control of it.
So I want to mention that, we're recording this on June 19th, and you had your dark night of the soul on the winter solstice, and we're coming up to the summer solstice. And so that means you're at your high point now, right?
That's too funny. I've been really trying to not brain it, if that makes sense. Like me, you've worked with me for 4 years. I feel like Russell Crowe in that shack down sometime in like in A Beautiful Mind. Like I am always out here just connecting dots. And lately I've just been like, angel numbers, no. Synchronicities, no. Just be with it. It was something Eckhart Tolle said, and that I was working with in the Dark Night of the Soul, was like, just looking at things and saying, this means nothing. This doesn't mean anything, because I make everything. And that is,
Things do mean things. Let's be fair. I'm seeing angel numbers everywhere right now. I mean, just every time I look at anything, I've got an angel number in front. I've got a simple
interesting.
in front of me. But yeah, for a quadruple, if it's 1111. But yeah, I'm seeing them everywhere.
That's interesting, because you usually don't don't do the angel number thing. So that's really cool.
They're an indicator, not a
Right.
And so I listened to you guys, and I was like, you're like, angel numbers, they all mean something different. And I'm like, every freaking number doesn't mean something different. And so I started looking them all up, and they all said the same.
Right.
I was like, yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that it's just an indicator. It's just a thumbs up from the universe, right?
Right.
Right. But sometimes we do over assess things. But sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A butterfly is just a butterfly. It doesn't mean that you're going to, shed your cocoon this very moment and this very day.
Yeah. But when you were on pilgrimage, which is what you are, right? When you're on Walkabout, when you're on pilgrimage, things mean things more often.
Right.
Than normal space, because you're in rarefied space in that case. Right. And if anybody's ever walked the Camino or done any pilgrimage route in the world, you do experience life differently. You are untethered. Right.
There's been some interesting, I'm sure you saw, I can't imagine what you saw too, because you were out there for quite a while, but you were out there for over a year too, weren't you?
About a year. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I in the beginning, I had people like, I had dreams of you being here 5 years ago. There was a medicine woman that I met that I journaled about 2 years ago, like by name. And I was like, in one of my automatic writing sessions. And so it's been interesting, to say the least, hard to really quantify some of it into words,
Yeah. Well, and I hope you're keeping a journal, because
I do.
I kept mine online, because everybody was like, oh, how am I going to know how you did? I want to make sure you're okay. And, all the things. And it's as though every person you stay with becomes a part of that journey, and they take that journey with you.
Yeah.
So it's like when you tap into them, they take the journey. It's like you bring a piece of them along with you for the rest of the ride. Right. And it's just this way in which people who can't go on the journey can travel with, and can do it without having to leave their lives. Right.
It's so funny, because I have like where my speedometer is, I made a traveling altar there, so I can remember to, feed and water. Like, we're here, but we need water. we want to feel connected. I have my dash now has trinkets from everywhere that I've stopped, and the children that have given me things. The children have been really prevalent on this journey. Seeing so many of these indigo children on this journey, just really helping me tap back into my inner child and the joy, because life got so effing serious the last 4 years, in this work, that I'm like, Oh yeah, now it's time to integrate back to, like some of the things you used to be and then and enjoy that. And children remind me of that. It was a talk that we had, like I had talked before on this, podcast about, sobriety. And, I had an uncle that I never understood why he always hung out with us so much, but he had gotten sober. And now that, like that's a huge, and he said, like you guys did that for him. And I was like, yeah, that's what my nephews and nieces and cousins, that's what they do for me, and I find that joy back in, and that's, where the magic is too, right? That creative flow, right? That's untapped potential of limitless possibility. So that's been a huge part of Walkabout too.
So funny that you just said that. I don't think we've talked about this. Maybe we have. I don't know. I can't remember who I talked to what about. But the Kathy and I had a conversation recently about abundance. And we were talking about, that she asked me what my definition of abundance was, which I had not put on my definitions list. So we do some definitions work in the programs. And she said, is there a limitation on your abundance? And I'm like, yeah, there's an enough energy, right? Like abundance is having enough. And she's like, no, that's not abundance. Even if abundance is more than enough, it's still defined by enough. And so she asked, what about if you think about the field of unlimited possibility? And I was like, oh yeah, there's no limitation on that. And she's like, okay, well then let's change abundance to unlimited possibility. And the business took off, right? Woo, money started coming in like mad. And I was like, fascinating, but this is why she's known for getting people unstuck, right?
She is.
Breakthrough coach was her title for a long time. And so, funny thing, you guys in the audience, I'm going to break away from Josh's story for a minute. Kathy is actually coming in to teach the spiritual mastery mentorship and Woo You with me. And so we're having a blast doing that. For those of you who don't know Kathy, if you're just coming into the podcast or if you haven't heard the earlier stuff, because she did a lot of podcasts with us earlier, she is a transformational shaman, and she and I have been working together for 20 some years, 23 years. And I met her while I was on Walkabout. Coming back to our theme for today, and this is obviously our theme for today's episode. And so, I literally met her on the front door of her house while I was on Walkabout. That somebody brought me to pick her up to go to another location, and then we ended up rooming together, and we've been fast friends ever since. And so she and I share a brain, which is really lovely. We come at the world from very different angles, and we share a brain. So I was born on Samhain, so November 1st, and she was born on Yule, December 21st, 2020. Oh shit, she's gonna kill me. Anyway, Yule, whatever it was either the 20th. I think it's the 20th. Yeah, she was born on the 20th. I have too many people born at that time in my life. That's rough. And so we collectively hold the space of time out of time. Which in the Celtic calendar, in the Celtic calendar, Samhain is the end of the year and Yule is the beginning of the year. And so the time in between the two is time out of time. And so for transformational shamans to hold that container of time out of time together, yeah, it's big. It's hardcore. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about doing retreats in a new way, because you experienced the retreat in November. That would completely different than any retreat I've ever done. Well, she did one that was even less structured than the one that I did. And she's like, yep, but it's only, only advanced people, because, they got to know how to hold their own space and know what they're doing and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I get you. But there's an evolution coming in the spiritual work of retreats. There's a huge explosion of retreats right now. Everybody's treating them like a vacation, which is kind of interesting for those of us who do hardcore retreats. We're like, not really a vacation, but I used to take my vacation time to do it. I didn't see it as a vacation, right? I started doing my work, but it was time for me, which is, I guess, what a vacation is, right? So yeah, it's a whole thing where the whole world is shifting right now. It's very interesting, and it's a really that's so interesting too. I'm just realizing, um, wow, I'm just having this moment because I was like, why am I talking about this? Now I know why. And the answer is that when I went on Walkabout, it was the beginning, the end of, I left on Yule and I arrived back on Yule, right? That was a whole year. And I left on Yule of 2001. 9/11 had just happened 3 months, right?
Mhm.
You are on Walkabout in the midst of all this turmoil happening in the US. And you are in this midst of this massive shift that we're feeling in the energetics. And it was so I was my husband and I woke up this morning all swollen and like in pain and all sorts of stuff. We slept with the windows open, which we don't do a lot because it can get quite moist and damp. Sorry, guys. For those who don't like that word, I don't have a problem with it, but whatever. Anyway, the the dog was our dog who normally sleeps in the living room is perfectly fine to be still for that whole time. He was checking in on us all night last night. He would just come in and come out, come in and come out. And um, I looked at him this morning and he was just like really still out of sorts. And I'm like, we're in pain. You're out of sorts. There's no reason for this because we both felt like we were horribly well. Jeff felt a little more hungover than I did. I felt like I was swollen, right? I still feel a little swollen. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure we just jumped heavy duty timelines last night. And so, yeah, it'd
I've
be interesting.
I've been seeing. I mean, you know how it is. It's definitely been super weird out here. Like I've been seeing, well, things I don't really have explanations for, which that's why I have you. Because Kelly said that from our very first conversation, you're never gonna out weird me, and I've tried, I've tried. So let me see if I can stump the shot of the day. Yeah. So I was recently at a festival, in Wisconsin. I went back for a little bit, and I went to this place, and I swore I'd been there 10 times. Like, I've been here, I have lived 10 different lives in this exact moment, but I am here in this vessel right now, and I am disoriented for about 2 to 3 hours. In the sense, I was trying to make sense of it. I was very much trying to make sense of it, and, it felt like Groundhog Day, right? Like, literally, like, some of this feels like I'm back in this vessel trying to do things perfectly in this incarnation, and I'm like, "What is this?"
Yeah. So, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and go back into that moment. And I want you to stop trying to make sense of it. Let go of making sense of it. Let go of trying to figure it out. Allow yourself to expand into the multidimensional self that you actually are. And now orient, but not figure out.
It's like a convergence.
Yes.
As I saw like multiplicity, like 10 wide coming in, and that's what it felt like, right? Like yeah. But
I need you to feel it for yourself. I couldn't explain it to you because it would have been different. But I wanted to show you how to orient in that scenario because there are going to be more times in your life like that, right?
Yeah.
So we come into situations where up is down and down is up, and we're not really sure what's going on, and we're like, right? If you go into your head in those moments, you will limit your experience and you will not get the answer you're looking for.
And you may possibly go into psychosis because I mean, like, I know that edge, right? I'm like, this is, like if I overthink this, I'm going to think myself into the loony bin, right? Like you have to be with it, right? Because it is, disorienting, but not, like once you've been through this a few times, you kind of be like, okay, this is whatever this is just kind of going to work itself out in however long. The 2 to 3 hours is a little bit different than, because it's like the feeling of deja vu for me was generally, a minute to three before Walkabout. It actually
Yeah.
started in Panama, though. I had that 2 to 3 hour, before we did the cacao grill ritual. Uh, that I had that whole afternoon before it, and I remember right before I hugged you before I left, I remember saying, "And we've been here before," and you're like,
Yeah.
"I know," because you know too.
Yeah. So the key in these situations is to recognize that you're operating in nonlinear space.
Mhm.
And so the more we do this work, the deeper we dive into this work, the more we are operating in nonlinear space. And that nonlinear space is out of time, right? And because time's an illusion. And so so there's a movie called The Arrival with whatever her face is. I don't remember the name right now. Anyway, but it's a really good movie for understanding non-linear time, right? It's particularly good for that. And it- basically it's understanding that everything's happening all at once. And so, you know, you saying I've been here 10 times before is you tapping into all the times that you will come back to that moment in your life and watch it again. And so there are 10 times so today was one of them,
Mhm.
right? So today was one of those times. And then there will be other times in the future that you will come back to that time and you will witness yourself, witnessing yourself, witnessing yourself, witnessing yourself, right? It's this, yeah, exactly. And so it's but because everything happens all at once, in that moment, all those things are happening at the same time, right? Because you're operating in nonlinear space. Other people have memories. We visit our memories. There's a difference, right? I mean, in regular memory is just you're touching the moment, but you're not in the moment, right? But when your memory, it becomes a experience, then you're in the moment again, right? So that's what you're experiencing.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I gotta sit with that more and, dive into that because that's something I remember you did an episode where you, spread yourself cross-dimensionally, and I just felt that, so I gotta say that's not something I've pulled myself in before to remove
Mm.
implants because, sometimes we do dumb shit, which, well, when we do them,
All the talent.
we are the graph writers of fuck around and find out. It's just what we are the ones out here doing it, so you don't have to.
Yeah, yeah,
But
absolutely. Well, they're
uh,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's cool. Yeah, I actually have some good stuff for the meditation episode that we're going to do about
After, yeah.
that I can talk about why I had to pull something across dimensionally
Yeah, we'll
because
talk about them in the next episode. But
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, no, you said something about, illusion, in there. And I have to tell you, I have seen the Matrix, and it's so weird. You start driving state to state, and you're like, "Oh, that's the same town with the same roads, with the same tree, with the same like what is happening?" Like I'm in the South, but it's also happening over here in Nevada. It's just like the same thing, but with a rock garden. I'm like, man, that person looks the same as the person that I met here. I'm like, whew, like which one of you has the magic ring?
Exactly. But you're not meant to tell, right? It's
That's
like we're
right.
in the Matrix, right?
Oh, it's
I was
so great.
absolutely convinced while I was on Walkabout that the town of Springfield, which every state in the nation has one, I think. I was absolutely convinced that if you twisted your energy just right, you could land in the other in another Springfield, that it was a teleportation option. I was absolutely convinced of that when I was driving because of the same issue.
I wonder if that's why the Simpsons live in Springfield and they
Yeah.
prophesize the future. Other than, all the other things. But yeah, no, that's been one of those things too. But it's been really cool. I've connected with some of the students I've worked with, and Welcome to the Woo, and just this, and it's so cool because during some of this journey, I'm sure you ran into like what's the word? During the journey, you kind of come up against these obstacles, right? Like, maybe not best, but you have to understand to move through it. Because to me, it's been like rapidly going through levels of consciousness, right? Does that make sense? It's like, and you said when you hit the road, you're going to up level quickly. And that is so true. And I'm so glad I'm taking psychic mastery and woo you at the same time. I just want to talk about that. You guys have to get in that because I am so excited to be in that group. That group has such amazing energy, and the things that are happening that I don't even know, like things that I don't want to give away too much. You're going to have to talk to Kelle directly about this. So book that call. But the things that I am witnessing, like this cross-dimensionally thing, this all started around the same time I started this course. And it is super cool. It is super cool. And she's going to have to talk more about that because I don't even know what to say. I'm actually speechless. I'm about halfway through some of the lessons in Woo You and the personal growth work in there, which, I had stepped away from for a while, but and it's so funny. Before I stepped on Walkabout, I said, I don't want to do shadow work. That was why I was like, listen, I want to, don't laugh. Why are you laughing?
Well, taking portion out of my nose.
Why are you? I said, listen, Spirit, I just want a year to integrate, which you always say, be careful what you ask for you will surely get it. I just, we're going to help you integrate. You're going to integrate your shadow. But I was very specific, I thought, but, this is what you get when you get drugs kicking and screaming to the path when the path was calling for years. You get the speed course because you got to catch up.
Well, working with me at the speed course period. So,
That's absolutely true as well. But you guys got to check out that course. Book a discovery call with Kelle because it is, if you're looking to take your life to the next level, this is it. I mean, like all of this work is. I mean, like this is why I'm doing what I'm doing now, and this is why I'm, on a microphone now because, 2 years ago I'd turn beet red anytime I talked to anybody in a group of one or more. So, now I'm out here doing podcasts, teaching, classes, and walking about through the world with 98% less fear than I ever have experienced. So those are good numbers for me. She only guarantees 50. So
that's in the first program.
That's in the first program, yeah. 98, halfway through the Woo Square or Woo You. But yeah, no, I mean, like it's wild. It's so cool. I've listened to the Walkabout song. You sent me the whole thing. There's so much magic in being able to experience this and having I'm so grateful to have you to walk through this with me because I have gotten myself into some things on the road. I ended up in places where I was meant to do work with certain energies of the area, and eventually I picked things up because Kelle says sometimes I look like energetic pigpen because I'm like the last person I work with on my own field. It's like I don't know what you're doing. I was like, I don't know either. Can you help me?
So there you feel when you're working with people.
Oh yeah. Or I just pick up a lot of smoogies on the road. I had a trickster energy followed me through, Wyoming and California. I'm sure you had some cool stuff happen too. I don't know, not like that.
Not that because I boarded my car.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a different vehicle in the when I was doing the warding. I did not in the beginning. It is warded to the gills now. And there's an altar in there because of this, right? We talked about this.
It's a ward. It's a Joel. Come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it is definitely warded now. Warded, protected, and it's visible.
If you're warded and shielded.
Right. Well, for what it's worth, I've had to learn about all of the stuff I'm creating and look at a different layer of thought forms, which you've been telling me for years. You're like, yeah, it's inside your field. Your shields are great, but you created it. So there it is. And I was like, great, thanks. That's exactly what Yeah, yeah. So it's cool. Layers of the work, layers of the work. But
Yeah.
no, it's just been cool getting to experience life. Like New Orleans last week was just, being a pretty, like I'm open minded, open hearted, but to be in New Orleans on Bourbon Street during Pride Month, holy shit, man. Like, I mean, like, I just saw, like I talk about freedom, but to see the freedom, to witness people just fully being themselves unapologetically in this, city that is really it really is a defiant pocket, which I just love. I love the defiant pockets in this country. Like this is my Jack Kerouac time. Like I am going to find these places. Like these are my people, right? These are the people that they love hard and they love freedom, and they've done everything they could to protect that and to, by experiencing that and to doing it so with love, right? There isn't all of the drama. Like when we got there, there's supposed to be protests there, like we're going on in California. And oh no, honey, that was not happening there during that. Not their weekend. Oh, there's too much love in the air for that to come to fruition. So,
No,
but I was,
what comes first?
oh,
So I used to live there, so I was pretty young, but I still remember the energy.
yeah, I mean, it's just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So, yeah, it's so funny because after I podcast today, I have no idea where I'm going. One of four directions, I suppose, northeast, west, or south.
That Walkabout, baby. Stop.
Yeah, maybe I'll just drive this time.
You know, that's what I did.
I got a
Sometimes had no idea where I was going.
I got a trunk of shaman stuff now. I got sticks from all over. I got water from ocean. I got salt from the salt flats. I got wolf hair. Don't ask. But just collecting magical artifacts and rolling through, the eternal moment of now.
We're back to the Blues Brothers. Rolling, 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 rolling.
I'd say I got $20 and a half pack of smokes, but I quit smoking on Walkabout too. So
There you go. And then, we're on a mission from God, right?
we are on a mission from God.
You were talking about that before we got on the show. We were like, oh, we should start it that way. And then he didn't have sunglasses. How can you not have sunglasses on Walkabout? You're driving in the summertime. What are you thinking?
And hide these baby blues. Yeah, mostly I don't know why. It's a good question. I've never worn them. Maybe life needs a change.
Construction, dude.
Yeah, like
All day.
I always felt less protected with things on my face for some reason. I don't know. I broke, for what it's worth. I mean, the statute of limitations is far past, but I broke about every OSHA law known to man in regards to safety, for the sake of efficiency.
Pretty much every construction guy ever, but yeah.
Now I do it magically. Just kidding. I'm not manifesting this.
That's what makes you a shaman. We break the rules, man.
Learn the rules.
You know them enough to break them, right?
Well, I think it was that Picasso thing, learn the rules so you can break the rules. But, I didn't even take the time to learn them. And then you're like, that is not going to work. I was like, I know, but like how grand was the learning of that experience that they never want to do that again? Like how fantastic. You always say, fuck around, or, fuck it up and fuck it up big because
fuck it up hard. Yes.
I do recommend having somebody that has your back that knows how to get out of that shit though.
Well,
I'm just going to throw that out there. I mean, you can really fuck it up, and if you don't have a group of trusted practitioners, or two shamans like Kelle and Kathy, in your circle, which they must have really fucked around and find out. Now that I think about that,
you're acting like this is new. It's like, no, Kathy and I've gotten in some shit. Shit.
Yeah.
So this is what I tell people: is magic isn't safe.
Right.
Anything worth doing is not safe. And so you got to be able to get out of your fear to step into it, because, the deep dive into yourself, if you don't do it well, can be unsafe as well. Right. This is one of those things that, if you've been with us since the beginning, or if you've been at the beginning of the podcast and heard the entire first year of don't do this and don't do that, and this is how you hurt yourself, and what's that, which is where I started, right? It's full of the cautionary tales, right? To the point where Joey C., who was my first co-host, looked at me one day and said, is there anything we can do? Oh, yeah, I should probably give you that. And so, this is in that vein of, I want to watch out for you. I want to take care of you, right? One of the things that I've been talking about with Josh is that we've gotten far enough in this journey and with the podcast that I can't do a lot more topic stuff in the depth that we've been going to without it being unsafe. And, there are certain things you can't learn without somebody to look out for you when you learn it. Because if you screw it up, you will be fucked, right? And you're going to need somebody to unfuck you, right? And so this is the thing that we've been looking at this. And so, I'm talking about doing some higher order conversations going forward. But, you need to know walking into this that the deeper you get, the less safe it becomes. But the reason, this is why we do the work in the beginning, because we learn how to hold ourselves safe. And then we don't look to the universe to take care of us because we've got ourselves. We've got our own back. We've got friends. We've developed relationships. We've got mentors. We've got, whatever. And we know that, yep, we may tweak ourselves pretty hard doing this, but the journey of figuring it out is worth it, right? And then, we'll figure it out on the back end, right? But we have learned enough about ourselves, and we have learned enough about our energy and how we operate and how to protect ourselves and our inner child and all of the pieces of ourselves, parts of ourselves. And then it makes the lack of safety of magic be okay. And so think of it like the guys who surf the waves on the North Shore of Hawaii, right? And in Australia on the reef, and where they're surfing these 20 to 100-foot waves, right? That is unsafe. Fucking unsafe. And the average person should not go and do that because you will die, right? But if you've been studying for a long enough time, you become the surfer and the wave just becomes cool, fine, right? And yeah, could it hit you the wrong way and, bash you in the head? Yeah, good, but it's worth it, to go and do it. So it's that sort of thing. And so this is why it's so important to do your earlier work and not try and skip to this part that we're talking about, because this part is not, and it is the 20 to 100-foot wave. Okay. What we're talking about at this stage in the work is the 20 to 100-foot wave, which is why I tell people, if you're new, start at the beginning, right? Because you can't skip to this part and expect to survive it, right? I can't tell you how many of my friends have ended up, I've had more than a few friends end up in psych wards because they had, splits because they tried to go places that they weren't ready to go yet. And so, this is why I'm like, I have a path that creates solidity and structure and knowledge and sets you up to be able to do this stuff in the safest way possible, which is still unsafe.
You're still getting shaken down to the foundation, but at least the foundation's there.
That's right.
Yeah. I've been doing this work with you for 4 years. Intensely. And I spent weeks again in, the fetal position. I'm like, what is even all of this? What am I supposed to do with this? And, it's, once again, what was the catalyst for this journey was, major pieces of my life coming to a very abrupt end. So it's fair to go through the grieving process, at the same time as going on this journey. But, had I not done the work, I don't even know. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not even going to look at that timeline.
Yeah. Well, had you not done the work, you wouldn't have been where you were. Let's start.
Right.
So it wouldn't have been relevant because you wouldn't have ended up with the person you were with. You wouldn't have been in the places you were. And, it would have been different. Right.
Right.
And so, but you look at where you've come. Holy crap, dude.
Yeah.
The 4 years to get you from where you were to here is insane.
Right.
So
I'm a masochist, not, I'm like, you know what?
Stop the phone. Do it again so I can figure out why.
I just want to figure it out. And that's what I'm getting away from right now, as I'm learning that it's not about being anywhere. It's just about being right now, right? And that's the feminine work for me right now. Is just allowing the universe to show up for me, and to open my heart enough and to a deeper level. And it had to start with my heart being completely shattered again. So that's all. It's always a fun place to pick it up from. Like, all right, we're rebuilding it in the image of what we want to create, and
more healthy space. Yes.
right, absolutely, so
Yeah. Well, and this is part of the stuff. So I just finished, and you don't even know this yet. I just finished a webinar called The 11 Stages of Transformation. I think. Anyway, it'll be on the homepage of the website by the time you see this podcast. And it takes you through all the stages of spiritual evolution. Not technically all of them, but the ones that you're most likely to get to in a short period of time. So there are a few after that, but I didn't want to confuse it, and it was already 40 minutes long, and I wasn't gonna keep we'll just do the 11 because those are the ones that most people get to first. And it talks all about how those lessons work and what the levels are and things like the stages that you go through and things like that. And so this is the thing I talk about a lot, is that there's no curriculum for this work. And that's what I have made my life's mission to do, is to write the curriculum. And, the work that I've done in writing my book and in doing the webinar and in, doing the programs themselves, which of course, those were just me writing. My whole program started on Walkabout. We're back to the theme, right? My whole program started on Walkabout. I wrote the first 45 pages of my program while I was on Walkabout. And because I got tired of saying the same shit to everybody. And the thing about Walkabout, man, now you have a little more money than I did. I had just declared bankruptcy when I left because I had sold my business and somebody didn't pay me for it. And so, so I had like no money, no credit, no nothing. And you want to talk about going out in faith. I literally, I had $350 a month of unemployment insurance and the kindness of strangers to live on. People were worried enough about me that one of my friends' husbands went out and bought a bunch of MREs, which are military meals ready to eat, and shoved them under my seats so that I wouldn't go hungry. Right? He was that worried about me, and I was like, "Oh, you're so sweet, thank you." And I every place I stopped, people asked me the same questions. And so I got tired of answering them. So I sat down one day at somebody's house when she was out to work, and I just wrote 45 pages of all the things that I kept telling people. And that became the foundation for what would come, later. So it was 2002 and 2017. I put up the first version of these programs, which was based on all of the stuff that I wrote down in the interim. Every time something worked, I wrote it down, right? And so, it's amazing for me. I'm like, synchronicity, walkabout, right? So what brings next for you on Walkabout? You said you don't know which direction you're going to go, right? But
yeah, I think I'm going to hit the Atlantic Ocean. I'm getting called to hit the other side. I have ocean water I gathered from, I didn't really know that the ocean was so cold in February in California, but, they're like, my guides are like, jump in, I was like, are you guys fucking serious? And I did very, so I'm out there in my boxers on this beach in Crescent City, California. And I'm like, this is crazy. But it was amazing because it was really cool because there were some cliffs out there too. And they had like the tree that, like Master Oogway would be on, with his little turtle cane. And that's funny because that's just funny for a lot of reasons. Sometimes I look at Kelle as Master Oogway because she's so, she's just trying to help me find my inner panda. And then, but like when I try to be something I'm not, she whops me with the stick.
I did not whop you with a stick. Stick, maybe, yeah.
It's not an actual stick. Okay, let me be clear. It's not an actual stick. She whacks me with my own incomplete wisdom. How about that? She helps me shift perspective to a better place.
There we go.
So,
From a
let me-
place of love and kind.
it's always with the. It's always. I want to be very clear. I wouldn't still be in this work and doing a podcast with somebody I didn't have absolute unconditional love and adoration for. So, I know it always comes from a place of love, and I wouldn't be where I'm at had I not had someone to walk with me through that. I am aware. I mean, I fucking imagine where I'd be. I mean, when I showed up on the door 5 years ago, first she didn't even let me in the program.
You got right.
And she said, absolutely not. And 4 years later, we're on Walkabout. So,
There you go.
yeah.
To your credit, I said no, and 3 months, and then I told you the criteria that you needed to fulfill in order to be ready for the program. And 3 months later, you were back at my doorstep going, I'm ready. I'm like, well, shit, I guess you are.
I got it.
Expected never to see you again. So,
I mean, for yeah, rock and roll. So I got, we'll be ongoing with Walkabout and see what happens next.
okay. Well, I think that is a great place to finish up our show. So, thank you guys for listening all the way through. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And remember, what you focus on is what you yeah, I can say this. And remember, what you focus on is what expands. What you intend is what you create. So choose one.